Right, here we go with the Miami sprint race. Now, I don't want to spoil it for everybody, but I think we're going to be in for a grandstand finish. Okay, I think we're going to have maybe a last lap shootout or a duel. All right, but like I say, don't want to spoil it. Just stay excited because we don't know what the rules are and anything can happen. It's only live once. Let's have a look.
So far, we've had plenty of incidents so far, and we're about to get going for the sprint. Lewis Hamilton will slot in to where his teammate Charles Leclerc should have been, which means everyone now moves up a grid spot because they don't leave the space open and empty. Right at the back is Yuki Tsunoda.
He's gone to the grid.
So he has gone to the grid, and Red Bull have obviously checked that out and made sure that that's okay. So we've got 19 drivers on the grid for this Miami sprint. 8 points for a win, points all the way down to 8th place. No pit stop.
Let's have a look to see if Max is cheating. Let's have a quick look.
On the grid for this Miami.
Now, you see, this camera angle doesn't really give us a great view. Is his tyre in contact? It's over the yellow line for sure. What about the white line? Difficult to know. Difficult to know. Which line do they actually go by? The white line or the yellow line?
Sprint, 8 points.
I guess it depends whether it's Max Verstappen or not, doesn't it? Who knows? Anyway, we'll carry on.
For a win, points all the way down to 8th place. No pit stops unless it gets too dry for those intermediate tyres. And Kimi Antonelli on pole. It's lights out, away we go, and I think Oscar Piastri had a better reaction time, and Piastri is coming at Kimi Antonelli.
Right, what's happening here?
And has the inside line into the first.
Okay, first situation. Now, Anthony Davidson actually does a breakdown of this after the race, and he actually gets it right for a change. Guess what? Wrong one. It's me that's getting it wrong. Let's close that. I didn't want to press equaliser. What I wanted to do was press speed and go down to a quarter speed, and we'll play this through in the slow-mo. He didn't get the actual description right, but it's like I keep telling you it is. What have we got here? Two cars going into a corner. All right? We've got a car on the inside. Who was in the lead? Who started on pole position? Well, that was Antonelli. So Antonelli's in first, and Piastri is the attacking car, the overtaking car, looking to be the one to gain that position. At the braking zone to the corner, who is halfway alongside? Because you have to be at least halfway alongside. They're now coming up with the bullshit about being level with the mirrors. Right, no, the rule has always been halfway alongside. Okay, and we can do this. Let's go back, see if it'll allow me to do this. Let's do this in slow-mo to see about braking zones. And it's lights out, and away we go. Trouble is, by doing it in slow-mo, then what it does, it just takes forever. But we'll see where he is at the point of the braking zone. But I'm going to be fairly confident that Piastri is at least halfway alongside Antonelli at that point, because as we are there, let's just see what we can see. Got the front on view. They look about side by side about at that point there. So there we are. Lead up to the corner. Oscar is well beyond the halfway point of Antonelli's car. Okay. So he's entitled to room around that corner. He's entitled to the inside line around that corner. In taking that inside line around that corner, he has to leave track room on exit of that corner for Antonelli on his outside. So, what happens? Go around the corner. Okay, Antonelli marginally ahead. It's nothing to do with who gets to the apex first. Nothing to do with that. Where is the actual apex? Do you take an early apex? Do you brush the curbing here and then come over to there? Do you take a mid-apex? Do you take a late apex? Well, it's not. That's a curb, isn't it? Now, does Piastri actually hug the curb? Does he remain in contact with the curbing? No, he doesn't, does he? No, he doesn't. But you see, the strap-on fanboy, the expert of the sport, they'll tell you that, oh, because Lewis Hamilton didn't hit the curb at Copse Corner at Silverstone, that meant that Lewis was trying to murder Max. He nearly killed him. And all the commentators, all the fluffers were going, Jenson Button. Yeah, had Lewis have hit the apex, then I think that would have been okay. You didn't say that after this one, did you, Jenson? I could do a little video about that, exposing the contrast between the two things you were saying. So, does Piastri leave Antonelli room on exit of this corner? Because there's nothing wrong so far. Nobody's complaining. Has anybody said, oh, Piastri didn't hit the apex? That's the problem. Piastri's trying to kill him. No, not a problem. And why? Because you've not got to hit the curb. Doesn't matter. All that matters is you afford them track room. Has Antonelli got room on the track? Yes. Has Piastri got room on the track? Yes. Right. So it's not a problem, is it? No. We can also keep our eye on the other cars going around here, see if they know how to drive and they know what the rules of engagement are as well. Side by side, going into a corner, who's leaving who track room. Now, at this moment in time, is there track room available for Antonelli? And the answer is yes. So where's he going? Where's he driving to? He's driven himself off the track and there's still room on the track for him. Had he have stayed here and Oscar would have continued to drift, then Oscar would have been guilty of crowding him off the track. Okay? That would have been the situation. 100%. And Antonelli stuck it out around the outside of Oscar, remaining wheel to wheel with Oscar, and Oscar would have drifted over to this side of the track and ensured that there was no track room for Antonelli, then Oscar would have been guilty of crowding Antonelli off the track. But Antonelli didn't do that. Antonelli drove himself off the track. There's still room for Antonelli to be in contact with the track at that point there. And Antonelli's fully off the track. So, no, he's done that to himself. Look at the rest of these cars coming around here side by side. Lewis Hamilton, approximately halfway alongside George Russell. Look at where they go on exit. Look at all these cars coming in here. That's a bit tight there, isn't it? That's a bit tight. What do they all know? This car, is it allowed track room against that car? This car, is it allowed track room against that car? Let's have a look. They'll probably cut off. Right, they've cut off there. And this is the editing of Formula One. It doesn't allow us to compare and contrast. We're beholden to the footage that they want to show us. But who's Antonelli's affording Max room there? He's not cut across Max. There's George and Lewis. George taking the wider line, able to maintain more speed and get better speed exiting the corner. So we'll go back to normal speed and get the audio on. But that's the turn one incident. Clearly explained, in as much that Antonelli's gone off the track. And after he's gone off the track, well, Piastri can use the full track. He can drift over. At the point Antonelli went off the track, there was track room for him. He was not side by side with Piastri and Piastri running him out of room. He'd already gone off the track, taking a completely different line. Hence, no penalty to Piastri. So, let's go back to the speed again. Back to normal speed. Hopefully we've got sound. Let's carry on.
The wing of his teammates Mercedes.
Yeah, the trouble for Antonelli, he's out of position now, he's falling back through the pack. It's really hard to sort of then gather the speed up He should have yielded that first corner instead of trying to fight it around the outside. You live and you learn, and he's still on the racetrack.
No, not necessarily yielded. If he'd have taken the appropriate line around there and remained wheel to wheel with Oscar Piastri, then Oscar would have been guilty of crowding him off the track. But he didn't. So there you go. Got run. You know, he basically, had Oscar have run him out of track room, that would have been the infringement. But Oscar didn't commit that infringement because Antonelli was nowhere to be seen by the time Oscar got over to that side of the track. We might get a better slow-mo of that they show us as they keep with the aerial for a bit longer later on. But we'll see that when we come to it. Anyway.
It was just a slightly better reaction time from Oscar Piastri.
It would be on.
And once again, second race running, Oscar Piastri involved in the first corner incident with one car.
Okay, Kimi, I know you're a young lad. You're going to feel you're the victim of a situation. I also realise you need to defend yourself. You need to stick up for yourself and make an excuse for yourself, okay? But you'll learn. And I hope that you turn into somebody that's willing to take responsibility for the things that you got slightly wrong there. And that's what it was. The guy got the jump on you from the start, and then, you know, you didn't stay close enough to him and you drove yourself off the track. Okay, it is what it is.
Leaving the track, but unlike in Jeddah, the race leader, the man on pole, didn't try and carry on. Right, here goes Antonelli.
Unlike in Jeddah, the race leader didn't try and carry on. What? Max wasn't the race leader then. Max was already been demoted. Piastri had already made the overtake before the corner in Jeddah. But again, how are you trying to skew history, Crofty? Trying to paint people's perceptions retrospectively. We're on lap 3 of 18 now. Oh, time flies when you're having fun. Well, no, it's because the first two were aborted, weren't they? Yeah. Seen my first video for the abortion of the start and the lies again from race control. Well, sorry, not race control, race commentary.
Into the next left-hander with George Russell right behind him, and lots of pressure being put on the young Italian in really, really tricky conditions still. Lewis Hamilton ahead of Alex Albon, Fernando Alonso up into 8th, Liam Lawson up into 9th from 14th. Isaac Hadjar has dropped down a couple of places. Lance Stroll has made an excellent start from 16th. Esteban Ocon holds on to 12th.
And they're all on the inside of the track, way off the racing line, to try to find some traction out of the tight left-hander onto the back straight.
Piastri leads from Norris and Verstappen as into the heavy braking zone at 10:17 we go. Through the spray come the cars here. Just for one moment thought that Esteban Ocon was trying to make a move on Lance Stroll. He couldn't do that. Sainz, though, gets past Pierre Gasly as we look down to see that Yuki Tsunoda has made up a couple of places already. And Piastri's lead 1.7 seconds at the end of our first racing lap.
And they won't be DRS, of course, in these conditions. Maybe later in the race they might enable it, but nonetheless, Piastri's got himself a handsome advantage out there.
He certainly has. Lando Norris under a little bit more pressure from Max Verstappen. Antonelli has just moved a bit further ahead of George Russell now. And maybe his tyres getting a little bit warmer, and that's certainly helping him as through the cars stream now into this brilliant complex of high speed changes of direction, left to right, left to right.
I find it really exciting, especially when they speak really fast. Do you like Formula One? I like Formula One. Especially when they go left to right, and go really fast, like that. Because that's how you have to speak when you're commentating on Formula One. Because it's a highly technical, complex, fast-moving sport. Only live once. Don't worry your little heads, you won't be able to understand it. Just believe what we all say.
Out in front, all looking very nice for Oscar Piastri. He is streaking away from Lando Norris.
They'll be tiptoeing around, though. Zach Brown said to us on the pit wall, you know, what's more important is having a car for qualifying this afternoon for the main race tomorrow. Do not take any risks out there. But there are some points available. Liam Lawson would dearly love to get himself into the top 8, but Fernando Alonso knows his way around in these conditions.
Carlos Sainz has already got past Pierre Gasly. He's trying to make a move on the Haas of Esteban Ocon. Just has to sit behind him through the chicane currently, and then try down the back straight.
Just drying very quickly.
Copy. Yeah, things could change around quite heavily here. If someone wants to take an early gamble onto the...
It's drying out very quickly, says Oscar. A message chosen to be played to the world by Formula One television, the editing suite, the people that provide all the cameras and all the audio feeds at the event, and then it goes back to their editing studio, as I've showed you in other videos. The editing studio where they cut and edit, and then out comes the global feed to show us what we see and what we hear. Oh, what have they created there? Will they be switching on to normal weather tyres for this race? Because they're on the intermediates now. Are we going to see a sprint race where some cars pit onto the dry weather tyres? And what jeopardy? And Crofty affirms that.
Slicks, it might really pay dividends, but probably not just at this moment, Martin.
No, not for some time yet. But
things could change around quite heavily here. If someone wants to take an early gamble onto the slicks, it might really pay dividends, but...
That's right. If someone wants to take an early gamble onto the slicks, it's wet, Crofty. It's wet.
Probably not just at this moment, Martin.
No, not for some time yet.
It could really change around if somebody wants to take an early gamble, but not yet. No. Thanks for that though. Keep everybody excited. Keep everybody thinking, oh, is it going to happen? That's what you're paid to do, isn't it, Crofty? Speak fast, chat shit, come up with all the different things that could have, would have, should have happened. Oh, what's going to happen? Stay excited, kiddies. Selling the crack to the children.
But there are no mandatory pit stops in the sprint, but of course you can make a pit stop. That's Carlos Sainz then, up the inside, nicely done.
Yeah, Carlos Sainz nicely done. Jack Doohan almost, Pierre Gasly almost taking Esteban Ocon too. Ocon struggling out there a touch, but he's back ahead.
Ocon got better traction out of the corner. Sainz went in a bit deep and reclaimed the position.
That will carry on then for a few more corners as Carlos Sainz tries and tries again. Hulkenberg started 11th, down into 15th for first couple of laps for him.
I won't turn.
Lewis Hamilton struggling once again with the handling of his Ferrari. Different sprint today than it was in Shanghai for him last month. We're on board with the 7-time world champion now. You can see how tricky it is, Martin.
Yeah, when he says it won't turn, obviously it does turn, but it won't turn as fast as he wants it to. Let's have a look and see who got to the apex first. Down.
Let's have a look to see who got to the apex first. They're still pushing the apex narrative. It's nothing to do with the apex narrative, Martin.
In that first corner.
Let's have a look. So already at that point in time, actually, Oscar looks like his nose is fractionally ahead.
And
he is. So actually, let's just go back a little bit.
It won't turn as fast as he wants it to. Let's have a look and see who got.
We like to have a look.
Got to the apex first. Down in.
Let's go slow mo. Speed. We'll do it at a quarter again, and we'll play.
First corner.
No, sadly it's under there, but actually, the nose of Oscar's car is fractionally ahead at that point. But Oscar on a tighter line is actually going to have to depress the brakes and exert more brake pressure to slow his car to a slower speed to take a tighter line. So that's what you're going to see Oscar do. Oscar's going to put the brakes on. You don't tend to see Max. Max is on the inside line often, and he goes faster because he's Super Max. He can go faster on the inside line, taking a tighter radius than those taking a wide line, bigger radius turn. Incredible. Unique talent, that is. Doesn't stay on the track, doesn't afford an Riaz track room, but you know they claim the rules aren't the rules for that.
Yeah.
Okay. There they are. Look. Oh, he didn't hit the apex. He didn't hit the apex. He nearly killed Kimi. No. You don't have to hit the apex. That's not how it works, lads. But the trouble is Kimi didn't take this line here. Had Kimi have been here at the time and been forced out of room, yeah, that's called crowd him off the track. But Kimi just went, nah. Kimi was the one guilty of narrowing it down a little bit for Oscar there. Inside. And he's gone fully off the track at a point in time where he could have still been on the track here. So Oscar can't be adjudged to have forced him into that position. Okay, like I say, had Kimi driven a different line and ended up here, and again we can look back at these cars here as we're doing this. At that point in there, had Kimi have been on his outside still and not been able to be on the track, then that would have been not leaving him room on exit. But Kimi had already done it to himself here. Okay, and again, if they stay with this, and I don't know if they will, look at the other cars coming around there. 3 abreast there, 3 abreast there, 3 abreast there. Touch Who won the race to the apex? Who's allowed to crowd each other off the track because they won the race to the apex, so they haven't got to leave the other one track room, which is the bullshit that they've come out with now. Oh, if you win the race to the apex, you've not got to leave the other car room. There's the bullshit narrative. Do these drivers go by those rules? Oh, because the drivers write the rules as well. That's what they tell you. Touch and go there. Oh, none of those drivers took the option of just driving the other cars off track there. Is that right? Or it's just they just know what the rules of engagement are? And do those rules of engagement, are they congruent with how I describe them? Or is it more like the bullshit you hear from Sky? Oh, it's more like the bullshit. Well, it's bullshit from Sky, isn't it? Bullshit. Anyway, let's listen to Martin again. Because listen to what he's got to say.
Down in that first corner. And
that's Piastri's corner on the inside.
That's Piastri's corner. It's on the inside.
Touch and go.
It's touch and go. Touch and go for you, Martin, but I can explain that. It's funny that the expert can't explain it.
Really touch and go there as to where you need to stop the car really and decide where the apex is exactly.
We need to stop the car and decide where the apex is, Martin. Really?
Exactly. And whether Piastri was far enough. He's got to be alongside the mirror of the Mercedes of Antonelli.
He's got to be alongside the mirror.
His front wheel. So as you get to the apex, it does look.
He's got to be alongside the mirror as he gets to the apex. No, it's nothing to do with the apex.
Like it was Piastri's corner, does it?
Yeah.
Lando Norris neat and tidy behind, just minding his own field. So as you get to the apex, it does look like it was Piastri's corner, does it?
Yeah.
Lando Norris neat and tidy behind, just minding his own business.
It looked like a carbon copy of Jeddah when Piastri had the right to the corner.
It looked like a carbon copy of Jeddah where Piastri had the right to the corner. Well, no, it didn't look like a carbon copy of that, did it, Crofty? No, and the reason being is that Piastri was ahead going into the corner. Clearly ahead going into the corner, and Max never actually made himself ahead until they were well around the corner. Whereas here, Piastri got himself slightly ahead and then hit the brakes, and Antonelli was able to keep a faster thing for a wide line. But that was at the braking zone. That was at the braking zone that Antonelli regained the lead, not beyond halfway around the corner when you've not hit the brakes. So it's not a carbon copy. And then the difference being, because Oscar was in the lead going into the corner with a car on his outside, Oscar doesn't have to leave a car track room. Okay, this time Oscar is more than halfway alongside going into the corner, so he does have to leave the competitor track room on his outside on exit. So it's not a carbon copy because it's a different dynamic. But Antonelli drove himself off track, and therefore, because there was no car there to leave track room for, Oscar can occupy that track. Oscar can drift himself all the way out to that edge of the track because the other car's already driven itself off the track. So therefore, you don't have to leave it track room. It's already took itself off the track.
He was considerably further ahead in Jeddah. Whoa, that's a bit of frail overtaking.
Yes, absolutely right, Martin. He was further ahead in Jeddah.
Ollie Fairman, was there a gap? Did he breathe in? Race control have noted that incident between Antonelli and Piastri hasn't been taken to the stewards as yet. What it has done, though, as Ocon stays ahead of Carlos Sainz under pressure once more, it's given Piastri the perfect launch in this race, and he's 2 seconds clear now.
Yeah, there's a critical point there as to whether Piastri owned that corner or not. His front axle has to be at least alongside the mirror, which I don't know quite how you're supposed to see that as a driver in a transient situation, especially in these conditions, or beyond that, as you hit the apex. Now, as I've always
See them still going on about the bullshit. His front wheel has to be at least alongside the front mirror. I'm not sure how you measure that as they're moving. At the apex, on a Tuesday, in the rain. Oh, bullshit, isn't it? All you're trying to do is come up with a load of fluff. Right? Bollocks. Quite simply, at the braking zone to the corner, the point at which you are slowing your car down sufficiently to enable it to take a specific line around the corner, you have to determine what room you have to afford the other cars, because that determines what line you can take. If you're in a position there where you have to leave the opposing car track room, you have to take a line at an appropriate speed which affords track room. If you don't, you can travel faster. That's going to propel you out to the far side of the track on exit of that corner, because you don't need to worry about leaving the other car track room if you're ahead of it on the inside at that point in time. That decision needs to be made at the braking zone, not at the apex. It's too late. If you're travelling too fast by the apex and you are mid-turn and you try to apply more braking force, then you're in trouble. You try to apply significant braking force mid-turn, that's when you're going to get losing control of your vehicle. That's why they say do all your heavy braking in a straight line. So, it's not about the race to the apex.
I said to people, where exactly is the apex of certain corners?
There you go, Martin can't even identify the apex. See, where is the apex of these corners? Because it can be different for whichever line you take or however you drive it. Because the apex is the point in which time you're effectively unwinding the steering. You're steering into a corner and then you're steering out, and the apex is that transitional point, and that can come at any part around that bend depending on how you're approaching it. So that's a variable point, isn't it? So where is the apex? Oh, so we're not going to use that as the reference point, are we, dickheads? But the strap-on fanboys, these experts of motor racing, they've heard the term apex. Oh, Lewis nearly killed Max because he didn't hit the apex. You don't even know what the fuck you're talking about when you're talking about apex. What you're referring to is curbing, gentlemen. Well, you would call you gentlemen, but you little 14-year-old wank boys, okay? Curbing. But what you didn't see there is Oscar wasn't in contact with the curbing. There might have been a metre of tarmac, and that distance changed as he drove away from that corner. And he was away from that. Nobody's accusing Oscar of trying to kill anybody, are they? No, because he wasn't. He was just driving the line, leaving the other car track room. Was the room on his outside for Kimi's car. Yes. Yes, what did Kimi do? Oh, Kimi drove a line that drove himself off the track. Kimi's line didn't drive him around that corner. Yeah, that's what happened. So, we'll carry on.
But they're saying no further investigation required. You can see it at the top of your screen. Piastri lives for another day in the lead.
How long can Liam Lawson last in this race? He's just been on the radio saying that his visor's broken and he can't see. I don't know if it's vibrating a little bit. The tinted tear-offs that are causing him a bit of discomfort, but he's under pressure here from his teammate Isaac Hadja, and probably the closest battle on the track. Max Verstappen has been noted for being out of position at the start, as we see how Carlos Sainz got past Esteban Ocon, and Esteban Ocon said, thank you, I'll take it back again.
There's a tiny dry patch on the inside of that, what is effectively the last corner on the track. And so what you can do if you've got listed up visor, yeah, you can get rid of some rip-off. You can crack the visor open a little bit, but sometimes that lets more water in than not. They are double glazed, the visors, some of them are heated, and it's unusual to have, but I think it's because it's still so humid out there. Your own breath will soon fog up the visor, as any motorbiker knows.
Yeah, that was really interesting, Martin. But actually, what we're really interested in is Max Verstappen out of position. Tell us about that rather than start waffling on about a load of old bullshit. Let's have a listen.
Verstappen noted then for a false start for being out of position. The indication is from our production team who spun this back and had a look that he was further ahead from his grid box. He'd overshot his position.
But nothing yet from F1 TV, the creators of the global narrative. Let's see if they give us a clear picture so that we, the viewer, can assess the situation for ourselves and determine whether or not Max Verstappen was guilty of an infringement. Thanks for that, F1 TV.
Well, that happened to Lando Norris, didn't it?
Yeah.
And normally that's...
No further action. So we've had a look at it and thought that he might be about out of position. The stewards have said no further action.
No further action, say the stewards. Sometimes they're deliberating for several laps. It didn't take them very long to determine that there was no penalty. No further action relating to Max.
Let's have a quick look.
Let's have a look.
Fire up the rear tyres a little bit, and
FIA stewards, no further investigation.
There's the yellow reference line.
Well, surely that...
Well, he's well over the yellow reference line now. Is he in contact with the white line?
That's too far forward.
Difficult to see from here. I cannot see whether the rubber is in contact with that white line. Is this the best angle you've got?
It's very similar to Norris, doesn't it? Yeah. In Bahrain.
And that's all we get. So, if the... Well, what is the measurement point? Is it the yellow line? Because he looked clearly over the yellow line. If it's the white line, was he in contact with that or not? I couldn't tell from that picture. Could you? It's guesswork. Is there other pictures that give us a truer impression? Well, there's aerial pictures, isn't there? Can they zoom in on that? They've got 100 odd cameras around there. Surely they can do better than what they've just showed us to determine whether there's actually an infringement or not.
There's a Mercedes
Antonelli,
somewhat wider than it should be, but it's all right.
Well, I'll wait for the end of this race, and then someone can tell me why Max Verstappen was further forward than his pit box, but was okay and wasn't noted for a false start.
He still had if he wasn't, they should all be that far forward on every start at every Grand Prix, because you can gain a third of a metre. Right? He probably had a bit of contact patch still on the white line, but if that's the story, everybody must go right to the front of their start boxes.
Lewis Hamilton ahead then of...
So what we want is consistency in the application of those rules. What are the rules? If it is that you need to have some contact with that white line, and that's what he had, no problem. Okay, but show us. Explain what the rule is, and show us whether or not he was legal or not. then there's no debate. There's no argument. There's nobody in the comments section saying that he should have got a penalty from that, or those in the comment section saying that he should. You can clear that conflict up there and then. These are the rules. You have to have part of your car, that part of your front tyres have to be in contact with the white line, for example, if that is what the rule is. And here is the image of that actually taking place. Hence, no penalty, shut up, no argument. Simple, isn't it? Resolves a lot of problem if you just deal with it. But no, they don't do that. No, oh, well, if he's done that, then everybody should do that. Oh, I don't know how he didn't get a penalty for that. Yeah, they've just said no penalty. What are you doing? Are you inciting now? Are you inciting the controversy? Yeah, is that what you're doing? But controversy or conflict that you can easily clear up as a sport, as a show, right? As a show. Oh, but the show likes it when it generates the beef, like the wrestling. It wants you all to love one character and hate the other, and then be anticipating the beef when they crash the chairs over each other's head. Oh, he said this. Yeah, he said this about their mum. Oh, what's going to happen now? Is that what you are, Brundle and Crofty? Stirring the pot?
Alex Albon looked to be a little closer to Hamilton. Meanwhile, Albon's teammate Carlos Sainz is having a go here, and Esteban Ocon, who's been using that inside line to get better traction. He might just do it again because Sainz has outbraked himself. The old switcheroo there, helped by Carlos Sainz, and that must be getting very frustrating indeed now for the Spanish driver. Stuck down in 13th, can't get past the Haas every time he does. Ocon reclaims that position. Pole sitter Kimi Antonelli in 4th, holding off George Russell. Max Verstappen in 3rd, trying to put pressure on Lando Norris, but not.
And the car's starting to slide around on these intermediate tyres now. They'll overheat very quickly indeed. They'll have to start going to find the water off the racing line. Look at the dry line there. That'll just burn these tyres out quicker than you could ever imagine. Looks like the sun's coming out as well.
Yeah.
We might well see drivers having to come in for slick tyres. Ted?
All the mechanics are just clearing areas in front of the pit box to, just in case, Martin, that is the situation. Bright sunshine in the pit lane. So
we might have to see drivers coming in for tyres. Stay excited, kids.
Not being able to put any pressure on Piastri. Piastri driving away out front. I tell you who's also getting close, and that's Fernando Alonso in P8, getting a bit closer to the Williams of Alex Albon in front of him. If he finishes in this position, Crofty, of course, that would be Alonso's first points of 2025.
Absolutely, and first points in a sprint race as well for an Aston Martin team who haven't scored a sprint point since Qatar 2023 on boards.
Quite surprising, really, that Aston Martin hasn't scored a point this season, because now they've got the genius designer. So you'd have thought he'd have been able to, work his magic with his genius and turn that Aston Martin into a competitive car, wouldn't you? You'd have thought a genius would be able to do that.
With Kimi Antonelli down the back straight we go. Behind him, Alex Albon looks to be getting closer once more to Lewis Hamilton. And then Fernando Alonso trying to keep tabs with Albon.
My visor was just absolutely. I have no visibility. I don't know if it was a building or something. It's terrible.
Not just Liam Lawson struggling today with visibility problems.
No, I think it's the humidity. It's you're sweating inside the car as well. But when you can see now the tread blocks start to move around, the cars just look a little bit jelly-like through the corners. The back end of the car, and I have to say the front tyres on Hamilton's Ferrari look particularly nasty. He has been talking. He said it won't turn. That means he got understeer. He's turning the steering wheel and the front axle just sliding across the racetrack. And I think it's hurt, his 13 seconds on the end, it's hurt Lewis a lot.
You can see that dry line that's appearing now has appeared quite quickly. Who is ready to take a gamble and go on to slick tyres, I wonder?
How's the track? Trying, but not as quick as I thought.
So Piastri's got a bit of a buffer, just under 3 seconds from his teammate.
How's the track? It's drying, but not as quickly as I thought. Chosen by F1 TV. Oh, what jeopardy we'll put out to the world. What's happening? Oh, it could be this, it could be that. Nobody knows. The changeable dynamics of Formula One. Oh, stay excited, everybody.
Lando Norris, so he can maybe hang it out just a little bit longer, still do an extra lap on the intermediate tyres, or are the slicks in maybe 3 laps time going to be that much significantly faster?
If you get out on the slicks, you might go 10 seconds faster, to be honest. I don't think any gap, any interval's enough. If somebody really aces it and gets out there absolutely at the right moment on the right tyres. Ted?
Do you know, I think Yuki might give it a go. Red Bull are readying some pit guns in the pit lane. Maybe Sainz will give it a go. Martin, I know what you say about the time, but you lose 19, 20 seconds making a pit stop, and what have we've only got 7-8 laps left?
2 seconds, Ted.
Yeah, right now, it's still faster than slick.
So what you need to be assessing is there a dry line emerging? And also, what is the likelihood of the difference between lap times? What are they lapping at now? And what would be the lap time you'd expect them to be doing on, for example, a set of medium tyres? What's the difference? How many seconds do you lose by going into the pits? When you come out on those fresh tyres, yes, there's a dry line, but if you go offline onto the wet areas of the track, then how is that going to affect you? What's your level of grip? And if you need to go offline to perform an overtake, what's your chance of retaining control of the car if you're only able to do overtakes into braking zones and you're having to go into the wet area of the track to then put the brakes on as you're trying to go up the inside of somebody? So, are you going to drop off 20 seconds? How many laps is it going to take you to get that 20 seconds back? How many cars is that going to put you behind? If they don't pit, that is. And are the conditions as such so that you're going to be able to safely overtake, go offline to perform an overtake, or is the other parts of the track so wet still that by going offline to attempt an overtake, you're actually in jeopardy of losing control on dry weather tyres by going onto a wet patch of the track? These are the things that you want to be considering. Okay, but they don't really articulate all them dynamics to you.
Go on, Carlos, do it. Do it.
But if you can, as I say, if you get in and the slicks, you can fire the slicks up. You can find, you'll recover your pit stop within 2 laps, easy. But who wants to take that gamble as George Russell?
So you're saying you can lap 10 seconds a lap faster than what they're lapping now in those conditions on that track? Well, I don't know. I don't know what time they're lapping at now. Not really paying attention to that. And again, didn't really make a contrast between the lap time that they're doing now as opposed to what they were then doing on medium tyres, for example, or soft compound tyres, for example. As it turned out, there wasn't this offset of cars that elected to change onto the dry weather tyres and those that intended to brave it out. They all seemed to change. So you never saw that contrast between, you've lost 20 seconds by pitting. Are you able to make that up and then make the overtakes? Well, all the other cars around you ended up pitting, so actually you didn't lose 20 seconds relative to them because all cars lost 20 seconds. So it maintained that dynamic.
Runs very wide. Who wants to be the first to blink? It's a really tough call, this one, as to whether you just hang it out and wait for the others. But I think if I was somewhere 9th, 10th, like the Racing Bulls, I'd have a go at it.
I think you're right, Martin. And Isaac Hadger's just been on the team radio to say, I can come in for dries. It'll be fine for me. and he's running in 10th at the moment. Albon behind Lewis Hamilton, all over the Ferrari, which is really struggling for grip, as you can see, and to the extent that that's slowing Alex Albon down.
I've got a lot more pace here, guys.
Yeah, copy that, George.
George Russell feels that he shouldn't be stuck behind his teammate Kimi Antonelli as well.
George has got a lot more pace. George always has. He always likes to tell everybody that he's a lot faster than he's really going at. Okay, George, just prove it. Go faster then. And go, if you're that much faster, overtake the guy that's in front of you. Come on, George, you don't need to tell everybody how fast you think you are in the comment section. Just prove it. Just do it.
On board with Alex Albon.
The history for Alex Albon and Lewis Hamilton, isn't it? When Albon was a Red Bull driver and Lewis was at Mercedes, they managed to meet in the middle a few times.
Sao Paulo and Austria as well.
Critically for Alex Albon as well, cost him dearly.
Track's dry enough now for DRS.
Yeah, those crashes between Lewis and Alex Albon. I've heard you say similar things about that when Lewis has had come-ins together with people in the past. Do you want to talk us through all the people that Max Verstappen's had a crash with, Martin? Do you want to talk us through all that? Because I don't really hear the historic accounts of the comings together that Max has had with all the drivers that he's had comings together with. Why is it you want to always remember the things where a certain driver has had comings together, but never talk about when another driver has been far more prolific with the comings together? We don't talk about that so much.
As well, it's just been enabled by race control. That will help Alex Albon. He gets 3 doses of DRS throughout the lap. If you're within 1 second of the car in front, he's definitely that.
So it looks like they're going to try and hang on to it, doesn't it? Hang on to the end. Was that that was an Aston Martin looking for when?
Oh, it looks like they're going to hang on to the end. Will he be right? Will he be wrong? Oh, you'll have to wait and see. It's only live once. Stay tuned, kiddies.
Part of the racetrack.
It's got in, close and slick.
Copy.
And I'm told Red Bull are coming out into the pit lane. Ted Kravitz, Yuki Tsunoda's coming in.
Yeah, I thought that was the right thing to do for you.
It looks like they're going to hang it out. It's getting close to Slicks. Oh, he's coming in. Oh, what's happening? Nobody knows. Create the chaos. Oh, this is Formula One. Speak really fast and shout a bit, and that'll make the kiddies excited. Or you could just say, they've just arrived at a point, having done their calculations, that they think this is worth trying to do this. Well, this particular driver that's doing it now, Tsunoda, his current position is last, so he has nothing to lose. Hey, he's got nothing to lose. Red Bull had nothing to lose. They're playing some clever cards.
Max Verstappen, you're already P3. You don't want to throw away those solid points, but Yuki Tsunoda, this is absolutely worth it. It's the medium tyre for what it's worth, Crofty. Let's watch Yuki go.
Yeah, and the intermediates that came off look positively horrible.
Yeah.
So they'll be watching his sector times very closely on all the pit wall stands to see as he goes on this outlap whether Tsunoda's got to get some temp. They come out of the blankets at 70. They're probably 50 or 60 degrees by the time you get to the end of the pit lane. He's got to build up some temperature, then presumably it should take off.
He was, Yuki Tsunoda, 37 seconds behind the lead when he made his pit stop. This is Ollie Behrman down the inside on Pierre Gasly. Behrman with more passes on track this season than any other driver. And there's another one to add to the locker book for the young man from Chelmsford. Behrman so far this year has picked up, 29 passes.
And Norris just found a half-second on.
Vote for the Overtake Award. Vote to tell us what you like, everybody.
His teammate on this lap so far, as they're out front reasonably comfortably, the two McLarens. And
Is that little dummy there for
But
Max Verstappen. Lewis Hamilton been told to box.
yeah, I think that's a no-brainer for Lewis. It looks like he's got zero grip out there and some softs going on. They should fire up a little bit earlier. And we have in the pits then Lewis Hamilton.
So it takes Lewis Hamilton out of the points. Ferrari making the gamble that in the next 6 laps, others might just pit and Hamilton might have enough pace to get back into it. And he's put soft tyres on. Stroll has also pitted. Sainz has also pitted.
So at the moment, that's dropped Hamilton down to 14th place. Now, if the other cars don't pit, then what is his chance of making all of these overtakes in what now remains 6 laps? It's going to be quite a lot faster than everybody else to make all this back, hasn't he? But then we see everybody else pit, so everybody else around him loses what he's just lost, restoring that original position. Although by doing it earlier, by being out a lap earlier and doing that lap 4 seconds a lap, for example, faster than those that are doing it on the intermediates, or maybe 6 seconds a lap, maybe you jump positions that way. That's the situation. It's not about regaining 20 seconds in 2 laps after pitting.
Through goes Bortoletto. Tsunoda's just coming around the final corner now. He was the first one to pit 4 slick tyres. Hamilton will come out just ahead of Gabriel Bortoletto. On the track, Bortoletto goes around the outside.
Yeah, Lewis has got to find out how much grip he's got. It's at a 2.0 stop there for Hamilton, but it looked longer than that. But he'll be feeling a lot of grip straight away.
On board with Lando Norris, and we mentioned that he'd just taken a bit of a chunk out of his teammate's lead. He's taken an even bigger chunk on this lap.
So I'm looking at this data down the left-hand side, and all we've got is that the leader's Piastri, and then we've got the intervals. We've not got lap times, so I'd like a lap time of what we've got the purple indication saying Piastri's got the fastest lap of the race. But I want a lap time saying what Tsunoda just put a lap in. So he's just changed onto the dry weather tyres. What's the differential between the laps that these guys are lapping at and the lap times being put in by Tsunoda now? Now it's still showing that he's purple. Now on an out lap, obviously you're spending part of that out lap coming out the pits at pit limiter speed and then rejoining the track. So on that first lap, you're not going to be setting the fastest lap. But let's get some comparisons. But they're not showing this up yet.
Out of his teammate's lead has now got him to within a second of Oscar Piastri. Lando Norris is finding grip at the moment and pace at the moment where Oscar Piastri is not. 3/10 in the middle sector, 7/10 in the first sector on this lap 12 of 18.
And Lando still looking, found a nice wet bit over there because he had DRS down that straight as well. And very much now menacing in the mirrors of Oscar Piastri.
We'll watch this battle and Lewis Hamilton on the soft tyres too.
So Tsunoda nearly 2 seconds a lap faster in the first sector alone. It's time for slicks.
Who is brave enough to put the slicks on? Who might want to hang it out? Verstappen's coming in to the pits, and there is a double yellow flag being waved as well out on the track. Antonelli is also in the pits. Oh, there's contact in the pit lane between Verstappen.
Right, a couple of things going on. Still, throughout that time, I'm looking at the data. And they're not showing us, they've not given us the lap time of the leader, and they've not given us the lap time that Tsunoda's. They just said in that first sector, on his first lap, having changed the tyres, not the out lap, but the first one where he's actually been on track crossing the start-finish line, he's almost 2 seconds a lap faster in that sector. So if the 3 sectors are equivalent, that would equate to approximately 6 seconds a lap faster. How many seconds do you lose from a standard lap? Is it 20 seconds that one of these pit stops cost you in total? Don't know that exactly. That would indicate it's 3 and a bit laps to actually retake that ground, regain that ground. But what we've just supposedly had is, well, we've not supposedly, we've had contact between Antonelli and Red Bull of Max. Can't blame Max for this.
And there is a double yellow flag.
So we've got Max going into the pits for a pit stop, which is
being waved as well out on the track.
So They put the car down.
Antonelli
is released, but that's an unsafe release. It's a clear, unsafe release. You can't release him while there's a car coming down that pit lane like that. It's an unsafe release. The driver, when he's given the instruction to go, well, he's a racing driver, he's going to go. All right? You're relying on those around you informing you that it's safe to go. Yeah, go. It's safe to go. So that's what you do. Now, to be fair to Max, what he did do, he did react to it. You could see his hands and his input on his steering wheel. He did react to Antonelli being there. That actually minimised the scale of that contact. What was superb from an 18-year-old lad was his reaction to it and the fact that he took that glancing blow and didn't attempt to go into the pits. Okay, because had he have attempted to pit himself there, he would have likely to have been spun around into his mechanics, wiping several of them out, and who knows what damage that could have done to him. Who knows? So that was absolutely superb of Kimi Antonelli, and I don't know how many 18-year-old lads would have been capable of responding to that in that manner. That was impressive.
So in the pits, Ted. Oh, there's contact in the pit lane between Verstappen and Antonelli, Ted.
Yeah, there's crash
as well.
Let's watch it through again. It all happens rather quickly, doesn't it? That's what I'm saying. His reaction and his decision in that split second was very, very good.
Out on the track, Antonelli is also in the pits. Ted. Oh, there's contact.
Okay, had he have steered out, attempted to go, no, I need to pit, then the back end of his car is likely to have been pushed round and he'd have gone sideways into these guys here. So,
in the pit lane between Verstappen and Antonelli, Ted.
Yeah, there's crash.
But you can't blame Max for it. It's not Max's fault. Max has been given an instruction by his team that it's safe to go. So instinctively, you go. But the onboards from Max were that at the point in time he realised Antonelli was there, he quickly reacted and changed his steering angle. But by then, it was too late and contact was made.
That was always going to happen when Red Bull released Verstappen into the path of Antonelli. He's wiped out his front wing. It's not enough to end Verstappen's race. Antonelli continued through. That's the first time. That's the definition of unsafe release. What were Red Bull thinking?
Yeah, big contact. That will definitely go to the stewards. Lots of drivers now pitting. Carlos Sainz going very slowly on the track. I think that was the cause. That is the cause of that double waved yellow I mentioned. He's hit the wall after changing tyres and going onto the slicks, and that's another car being.
So what we're seeing here from Tsunoda being in last, because he pitted before everybody else, whilst everybody else was going on around perhaps 6 seconds a lap slower, he has then done that lap and then gone into the pits, and that's enabled him to leapfrog them because he did a lap 6 seconds a lap faster than them, for example. This is the dynamic why the early change benefited him. And fair play, it was a good decision. A good decision that we've seen over the last 15 years that Red Bull have been consistently better than other teams at making those calls. Why? Because they don't seem like they're tough calls to make, really, do they? For years, I've lamented the decision making of Mercedes whilst Hamilton was there. I was thinking, what are you doing? Who is actually making your strategic calls? Because they're awful. But that is what has gained Tsunoda those positions there. He's gone from 19th and he's in 14th just because you've taken the gamble. Why not take the gamble? And then you've shown what's happening in terms of your pace. You extrapolate that pace relative to everybody else for 5 laps. And providing that the track is dry enough to actually go offline and make an overtake, it's going to work for you.
Driven in an unsafe condition that maybe should have stopped before now. Will we get a safety car? Is there debris coming off? And there's a battle for the lead going on, and there's debris all over the track. Piastri had to take avoiding action through that chicane to avoid the debris.
So the idea of a car being driven in an unsafe condition, putting debris over the track. Right, if debris is coming off the car, then that's a problem because you're putting onto the track debris that is going to cause a problem. So you shouldn't be doing that. But if you are capable of recovering the car to the pits, then that is what you should be doing. We see all too often cars that are still capable of being driven parked on the track, and that inevitably has to cause a safety car. A lot of these cars, a lot of these tracks are not set up for the swift recovery of a car. They don't have zones where you can drive your car off the track and park it up. They should have. They should have areas where you can pull your car over to, right, get yourself off the track, get yourself behind the barrier and park up. That way, you have retired yourself from the race and you haven't interfered with the race. You've not caused the other cars to have to slow. You've not caused the introduction of a safety car. Why don't they do it? Simple, isn't it? Oh, they like the drama of the safety car. They like to reinvigorate the race. They like the throw of the dice. Again, all of these things, it's the simple solutions. The simple solutions that would actually make sport better. But they don't look at making sport better. They make the show better, more saleable, to excite the kiddies. But that's not the sport, is it? Because sport is you're building up an advantage over those guys that you're racing. And as soon as somebody else has a problem, all that you've accomplished so far, that gets wiped out. Well, that's not sport, is it? No, that's show. So, yeah, Sainz seems to be dragging debris over the track. His tyre comes off his rim. Fortunately, he's travelling at a slow speed by then. But yes, if he is continuing to, once the initial impact happens and he has that crash and you get debris fly everywhere, bits of carbon fibre fly off his car, okay, that's one thing. That's the initial incident. But then if you continue driving and no further carbon fibre is coming off, fine. But if you're driving and as you're then driving that damaged car, more bits are flying off of it because it's then hitting the track as it's being driven along and therefore more and more bits are chipping off of it, that's the sort kind of incident where it shouldn't be driven. But if you're still just limping around, not causing any further damage in terms of further destruction of your car that's causing a hazard on the track, and you stay off the racing line and you stay out of the way, then it's better that you recover and get off the track without having to introduce the safety car than just parking your car on the track and causing a safety car. But like I say, simple solution is at 10 or 12 locations around that around that track, have a point where the car can simply drive into it and retire the car. You can the steering lock of these cars mean that they can't turn back on themselves very easily at slow speeds. So have it so that these cars are able to just, with the steering lock that they've got, can drive into a retirement berth. Not too hard to construct these at each of these locations, each of these tracks. The traditional motor racing circuit is more, well, some of them were more able to accommodate that. These street circuits or these ones that are now being produced, well, they're all enclosed by Armco, aren't they? There are no runoff areas as such, or very few.
McLaren have got is double stacking now. It's going to hurt Norris horribly. But they've got to react. They've got to react. But what's helping them now is, of course, Verstappen's issue. And that's that. Now, what do they do? What do they do? They're going to flip the coin. But should they bring them both in? It feels to me they've got to put slicks on both those McLarens now.
Tsunoda up to 14th. Hamilton up into the points is 8th. McLaren waiting for at least one of their drivers, and it's Oscar.
So again, we're not seeing lap times. I don't know whether it's flipped to lap time any time. It's still got intervals. Hamilton was 2 seconds behind Verstappen. That's down to 1.7. Both on the slick tyres. Verstappen on an outlap probably. So, well, actually, you've got to say that Verstappen's got that broken front wing, which is going to impact the performance of his car. I was going to make the comment that how come that Hamilton can be faster than Verstappen when that hasn't looked likely, but that's obviously got to be the reason, hasn't it? Verstappen's got a damaged front wing, clearly going to impact his pace.
Piastri that comes in, and Lando Norris continues on his way. So the race leader gets the change of tyres. Norris on his way. Now, whether that was a team decision or Lando Norris said he wanted to carry on, we will find out. Carlos Sainz is back to the pits, out of this race, as out onto the track goes Oscar Piastri. And where will he be when he comes out onto the track? Second.
Piastri leading, therefore he got first service. This is going to hurt Lando Norris. An extra lap on the wet tyres. Let's see if he can get in and get out.
This is going to hurt Lando Norris, this extra lap. Who is he going to... When Lando has to come in after the next lap, who's going to make it through? What jeopardy?
He'll stay somewhere around the Russell battle.
Lewis Hamilton is now the fastest man on the track. Fernando Alonso pits from the points.
Hamilton all over the back.
A lot of debris in the chicane.
Yeah,
There's a lot you can't avoid it. It's all over the track. Turn 13, 14.
So, he's now the fastest man on track. What are the equivalent lap times? What is Lewis Hamilton's lap? So George Russell's still out there on the Inters, by the looks of things. What's he lapping at? Give us a comparison. The dry weather tyres are how many seconds a lap faster than the Inters? Why aren't you giving us the information?
well, Lando Norris, I'm sure, would like a safety car here, but I'm not surprised he's saying that, because you could see the debris when Oscar Piastri went off the track under pressure from Norris on the previous lap.
Well, because the safety car would play beautifully into Lando's hands right now, and that's what he's up to there, calling for that.
There's Lewis Hamilton making another move, this time on Max Verstappen. He is up into third. Verstappen with damage on his car. You can see front wing end plate on the left-hand side is completely gone. Crowd going wild. They've loved that move, and race control have noted that unsafe release between Verstappen and Antonelli.
So finally then Norris gets to come in the pit lane, and will he be able to get out in front of the Hamilton-Verstappen battle? He should be able to.
Another double waved yellow is being waved for, and that is why Fernando Alonso has now hit the wall.
So there we go. Fernando had a crash, got hit. So let's have a look.
And that might be safety car, or definite safety car, or even a red flag in this race.
Safety car. How long will they wait? Will we get any more racing laps? There's bound to be a couple. But then on those fresher tyres are going to fire up. What jeopardy. Will they let the lap runners through? I don't think it's mandatory, but that's usually on a wet day in Belgium. And if they do, how long will they wait? Oh, nobody's been lapped, so we don't have to do the unlapping procedure. Okay, don't need to do the unlapping procedure. That takes at least a lap. Okay, the unlapping procedure, at least a lap. No, it's more than one lap. Okay, and the reason it's more than one lap, so it's not just one lap, it's more than one lap, because firstly, the track has to be declared clear and safe. Then you have to give the instruction to those lapped cars that now it's clear and safe, you're now being released. And from the moment they're released, the safety car then returns to the pits at the end of the following lap. So already on they're on a particular lap when they're released, and then it's at least one lap beyond that. So you can see it's a lap and a bit minimum that it takes. And the race director has the discretion to keep that safety car on track for longer if he perceives that some of these released cars are left significantly disadvantaged by the situation. So it's at least a lap and a bit that doesn't have to be factored into this particular safety car situation to deal with this particular one. Let's just go back, because we're on lap 15 of 18. So we've got, what, 3.5 laps to go. 3 and a bit laps to go. So, how long will they wait? And they don't have to factor in over 1 lap of it. Are we going to get any more racing laps? What jeopardy? No. Does Fernando Alonso's car catch fire? Do they have to get a fire extinguisher and put the fire out, causing more debris on the track, causing the debris to have to be swept up? No. Oh, we're bound to see a couple of racing laps. We're bound to see a duel, a last lap shootout, what all the kiddies want. Stay watching, stay on the edge of your seat. Let's see what we see.
Being waved for, and that is why Fernando Alonso has now hit the wall, and that might be safety car or definite safety car or even a red flag in this race. Norris is coming out, Piastri's making his way round the final.
Right, even a red flag. It would only be a red flag under the following circumstances. Number one, the track is blocked and you can't get through. So that safety car is trying to drive that snake of cars past the incident and it can't because everything is blocked up and there is not a safe passage through. You'd red flag it if that was the situation. So that is scenario one for throwing a red flag. The track is blocked. Okay? There is no safe passage through that situation. We saw that as the reason for red flagging the Imola Grand Prix of 2021, where Russell and Bottas collided. 2 cars collided, debris strewn all over the track. That much debris that there wasn't a safe line through there that was not putting those cars at risk of a puncture. There was that much debris, you couldn't really pick a clean line through there. In addition to that, there was the time it would take to recover both 2 cars and do all the checks to the barriers that were significant. There was significant barrier damage that it looked like that would need checking to see if it was still capable of performing the same role. Hence, with all that going on, that was a red flag situation. Scenario 2. If, when you're doing your checks, you discover that the barriers are going to need significant repairs, that is going to be a prolonged repair job, then as we saw at Jeddah 2021, the Saudi Grand Prix, where they deployed a safety car and then they tell us, oh, the barriers aren't going to be performing their same role again, we'll red flag that. So we had to accept that as the reason for that red flag. I mean, just by chance, it meant that Max Verstappen got a free pit stop. You know, they stayed out, would have actually gone right pretty much to the back of the grid had he have pitted subsequently. Would have lost a lot of ground subsequently, but no, they red flagged that because of the requirement to repair the barriers. But I'd accept that as being a reason for utilising the red flag and not prolonging the safety car period. And the third instance is when there's somebody injured, when there's either a driver or a marshal or even a spectator requiring urgent medical attention and therefore the deployment of the medical car or an ambulance in that vicinity. You don't want every couple of minutes a snake of Formula 1 cars travelling by an incident where somebody is either significantly injured and receiving medical attention. The priority is the welfare of the individual, and you need to make the environment the best conditions possible to ensure that that person that is in jeopardy can receive the best care in the best way. And that's not by having sport carry on around it. Okay, those competitors lapping on around it, you stop it. So they're the times that you would use a red flag. Now we're getting a proposal. Will they red flag it? Well, show us the track, see if there's a safe line through. If there's not a safe line through, then that would be a red flag. If there is a safe line through and the barriers look all right, no, it's just safety car. And we carry on lapping behind the safety car until such time as the track is declared safe. And if it's not possible to declare the track safe before all these laps run out, guess what, everybody? it's the big anticlimax. It's a safety car finish. But we can all cope with that, can't we? We can cope with that. Nobody wants to see a safety car finish. Everybody wants to see a climax, don't they? Everybody wants to see a duel. Everyone wants to see a last lap shootout. Or are we capable of acknowledging that it can end with a safety car finish? The frauds can't hack it, can they? The frauds. Oh, they'll tell you, they'll convince you all, they'll convince you with the narrative. Nobody wants to see a safety car finish. I don't really mind.
Corner now, but the safety car has reduced the speed, and that has given Lando Norris the lead of this race. Second year running in Miami, safety car at just the right time for Lando Norris.
It was a bit late for him, but it was okay. It's allowing him to get out of the pit lane. I wonder if we're going to have to red flag this. There's a lot of car parts and car all over. A bit late for him, but it was okay.
So what are we seeing? We're seeing Fernando Alonso.
Allowing him to get out of the pit.
We're seeing a wheels come off of his car there. Or a tyre.
I wonder if we're going to have to red flag this. There's a lot of car parts and car all over the racetrack.
Well, what are you seeing, Martin? Because we're not seeing that. And this is the problem. We get to see what they want us to see. We get to see what they show us. I've had people make comments in the comment section of my channel saying, oh, I'd love to see you do a live commentary of the Grand Prix. Now, these people are actually Trojan horses. They're seeking to try and discredit and undermine. I can pick them out. It's quite easy to do so. But the reality is, one of the reasons why I'm not going to do that is that I'm reliant upon what F1 TV show all of us, and I would be expected to try and utilise that to talk about something to inform people about what's going on. Well, that's not enough information, is it? I just get the snippets of what they pick and choose to show us, and I've got to explain to people what's actually going on via that. Not given enough data to make the comparisons with, not given the full picture of what's actually going on, not given all that's required in order to have the information available to inform people. You can't do it. So if your job is to commentate on a race, you need all that. You need the multiple views, you need all the data available, you need the ability to pick and choose which areas of the track that you're looking at so you can actually talk about the actual incident and explain to people what's going on. Because this show is not showing us what's actually going on. And if all you're trying to do is commentate using this footage that we get shown to us, you've not got anywhere near the level of information you need to be able to accurately talk about it. It's guesswork.
In quite a critical place there for Fernando Alonso. What will they do? But yes, it was just enough time for Norris to poodle down the pit lane and not lose out to his teammate flat out down the pit lane because he had to be restricted to safety car speeds.
So, Lando Norris leads this race from Oscar Piastri, from Lewis Hamilton, made his way up into third from Max Verstappen and Alex Albon in fifth. The stewards are investigating Verstappen for an unsafe release into the path of Kimi Antonelli, the pole sitter, who's now running down in 11th place. George Russell is sixth, ahead of Lance Stroll and Liam Lawson. That is the top 8. We could yet finish behind the safety car. I think if there's no red flag, we will finish behind.
We could yet finish behind the safety car. We didn't hear that once at Abu Dhabi 2021. We didn't hear that once at Abu Dhabi 2021. How long will they wait? Will there be any more racing laps? What jeopardy? We think the safety car will be coming in at the end of this lap. We think it could do, should do. Indeed, is there any more debris on the track? Remember all that? Remember all that? So lapped cars will not be allowed to overtake, which means there is a lot of work to do for Max Verstappen. It doesn't mean that at all, dickheads. It means that there's marshals on the track still clearing the track up. Means that you can't carry out that unlapping procedure, which is mandatory to restore sporting fairness to all competitors. Put in 7th place Lando Norris on the back of 6th place Pierre Gasly, which is where he needs to be before you can resume racing. You're not talking about that, are you? Oh, what jeopardy! Remember that? Remember all that? I do. I remember it.
Ahead of Lance Stroll and Liam Lawson. That is the top 8. We could yet finish behind the safety car. I think if there's no red flag, we will finish behind the safety car.
Yeah, and I think they want to do that and get the race done.
I agree, says Martin. Yes, we both affirm each other this time. You affirmed each other in Abu Dhabi that, will we get any more racing laps? Because I think the safety car will be coming in at the end of this lap, and there will be one race. What makes you think that, lads? And yet here you think it's going to be a safety car finish. Yeah, couldn't make it up, could you? Unless you did, because you did.
With qualifying coming up, but wow, it all happened in a hurry, didn't it?
Certainly did. Let's have a look and see what happened here. We're on board with Carlos Sainz. This was the first of the double wave yellows that we saw, and we know that Carlos Sainz is going to hit the wall. Just where is he going to hit the wall? Oh, clips it on the inside.
Oh, that was clumsy.
Just have another look on board. Just fraction misjudgment.
So debris over the track there caused by Carlos Sainz. How much more debris was coming off his car as he continued around the track? Don't know. Didn't really see.
And he's clips it on the inside, and the left rear taking the punishment. So that's where a lot of the debris that's...
So you can see it flying up in the air there.
Lando was talking about has come from. That was Carlos Sainz incident.
It's raining confetti carbon fibre up.
You have to keep stopping it.
There, and but then what's so that's the Sainz recovering, and you're not really allowed to do that, as we saw earlier.
What you don't want is parts coming off the car like that at speed.
We're on, it's like a polo mint and the rear tyre heading off, so 10-second time penalty for Max Verstappen for what we're about to see here, which is piling.
Now, if you see here, again, look at Max's steering input. He does steer out of this before the impact, but obviously it's an unsafe release because there's nowhere for him to go either. You know, his direction of, well, it will be straight into them Mercedes mechanics as well.
Straight into the side of the Mercedes.
So we'll slow that down. Let's just do that again.
Heading off, so 10-second time penalty for Max Verstappen for what we're about to see here.
So let's have a look at this. Quarter speed, and we'll just knock the sound off. So change your tyres onto the mediums. Given the instruction to go, you can see that red light's gone off the board. Guys jumping out the way, Jack's getting removed of the car, which automatically means Max is going to go for it. So he does. Okay, which is instinct. Now, there's Kimi coming in. Where's the impact, front or back wheel? Well, Max has actually hit the brakes. So he's actually just seen it happen and reacted very quickly to it. But fair play to Kimi Antonelli. He's seen that if he tries to turn in, he's just going to get probably spun round. So he's carried on in a straight line. Incredible reaction to the situation from Kimi in as much that saved some of the members of his team from what could have been some serious harm there, due to absolute absolute negligence, and it is negligence of the guy in the Red Bull team releasing Max Verstappen unsafely. Now that in itself should result in a penalty to the individual that is guilty of that unsafe release. Because what he has done, he has put in jeopardy people's lives. That Red Bull member, that Red Bull team member, whose role it is to release their driver safely, well, he hasn't done that. He has not done that. Rather than say it's not safe, this means we are going to have to accept a 1 or 2 second delay. No, he hasn't. He's failed, because you have to take responsibility. You have to say, no, it's not safe. We have to absorb that 1 or 2 second delay. Whatever it's going to be, that's what it costs us. He didn't do that. And as such, he risked that situation. He created that danger by releasing Max Verstappen unsafely. That put in jeopardy the lives of those people working in that pit lane. And he should receive a significant punishment for that, even if it is a suspension or being barred from that role. Whatever it might be, it needs to be significant enough to deter anybody else from doing it. If you do that, that's it. You've put other people at risk there. That's not acceptable. And that applies to any team. If you are the person guilty of releasing your driver unsafely, there should be a consequence. So if you're Kimi, well, too late there, isn't it? And again, what he does with his steering, superb. Avoids his own team, because obviously he was on a trajectory which was looking to steer into that. So it's a bit long when we're reduced it to quarter speed, but we'll see this again. Verstappen's released. Kimi has to steer out of it. And it's this bit here again. So you can look at his steering input. Look at Kimi Antonelli's steering input. Steers to go take his car across into his pit box, as he's entitled to do. Whoa, shit there. Picks up that Verstappen's coming out. Look at what his steering's already reacted to. Now he's locking it over the other way to avoid Verstappen. And there's a point where he has to make that split-second decision. This is all slowed down, remember. He's having to do it real time, where he's like, do I try and make the pits or do I bail out? And he bails out. Had he have tried, that could have caused significant harm to people. So well done, Kimi. Seriously well done. Anyway, back on for the grandstand finish of this race. It's exciting, isn't it? I know we're still all excited. Let's carry on.
Sadly lacking in coordination.
You did, young man, you did a brilliant...
What, you, Kimi? You be careful. Ben Sulayem will be fining you for reacting like that, for saying a naughty word. It was entirely appropriate to the situation.
job to avoid that, because that would have spun him into a load of mechanics.
And he had to stay on the intermediate tyres. That's how Fernando Alonso got punted around.
So that's how Fernando Alonso got punted around. All right. Now, if that's the extent of it, and you can see his wheel got put against the barrier here as well. There doesn't seem to be debris strewn across the track. I've not seen this view of Fernando Alonso's incident prior to this, because they wouldn't show it us. But if that is the extent of it, well, he's well off the racing line, isn't he? There's clearly a line for a safety car and a safety car snake of cars to pass through that situation. Is the track safe enough for a crane to be on track and that safety car snake be travelling past that with no risk of any of those cars losing control due to the track conditions not affording those cars traction? That would be a dynamic where, again, based on safety concerns, you might red flag it. You might say the track conditions are such that there is a risk of cars losing control even behind the safety car because of the track conditions. And what we don't want is to put a crane out on track in slippery conditions and cars losing control and slamming into a crane. We saw what happened with Jules Bianchi. So that would be, actually, I said the 3 decisions, 3 criteria where you deploy a red flag. That would be a 4th. So, carry on.
By the racing bull of Liam Lawson.
Yeah.
And I would imagine Alonso and Aston Martin will want to say a few things about that as well.
Yeah, I think.
And let's analyse that for we'll analyse that for
Young
determining the penalty.
man, you did a brilliant job to avoid that, because that would have spun him into a...
Okay. So what looks to be, that's very late there. I wanted the lead up to this corner to see about who's going to leave who room. Where was Lawson with regard to Alonso, and did he have
in coordination?
Indeed.
You did, young man, you did a brilliant job to avoid that, because that...
Okay, they're about to come into shot. They are there. And to be fair, at that shot there, Lawson looks about level with Alonso. Difficult to see. It really is. I don't think I can enlarge that anymore. Let's take the speed down. And let's take the volume off. I don't think I can do it. I really don't. Don't think I can sharpen that up. But again, what do they show us? What views of this do they show us? So, what looks to be the pink car on the outside looks to be marginally ahead of Alonso's green Aston Martin there. And they're approaching the corner. You'd say they're side by side there. Alonso on the inside line, shorter to travel. And essentially, yeah, Lawson's been run out of room. Was he entitled to be left room? Now, essentially, what we've got is a chicane kind of environment where it's one turn swiftly followed by another. Okay, it's not like traditional, like some chicanes where they're a bit closer together than that. But we've got two turns that mean that obviously if you're on the outside line of the first element, it means you're on the inside line of the next. What we need to establish is where the cars were at the braking zone for this first turn, and we didn't get that in view. What the stewards have determined is that Lawson got a penalty there, but I can't break that down properly because I don't know exactly where we're looking at. And it's easy to do this. It's easy to actually establish where your braking zone is by overlaying that on a track. It's easy to have graphics that are overlaid where you look at all of the driver inputs around the track and you see where they're all braking, and you can overlay. This is the braking zone. This is the point where we assess where the cars need to be afforded track room. That is easy to show everybody. Resolves any dispute. This is where they were when they should have been braking, which means this car is entitled to the corner, this car is or is not entitled to be left track room on exit that corner. But as it turned out, we'll just go through that again. Go through this Kimi Antonelli situation again before it returns us to the Lawson Alonso incident. So, coming into view, they look to be alongside. Now, in order to be afforded track room on the exit of this corner, at the braking zone, the car on the outside, Lawson, needs to be at least alongside Alonso, if not slightly ahead. But at least alongside is the criteria. Now, at the braking zone, I don't know whether he was fully alongside. This might be well into the braking zone. This might be like after the point where they've started braking, and he might have still tried to hang it out around the outside when he had no entitlement to do so. It's too late by this point here to make the decision as to whether Alonso has to leave him room or not, because at the speed Alonso's gone into there would determine whether he's capable of leaving him room here or not. If he's gone in too fast, the car's going to come over here anyway. So it's too late to decide whether he's got to leave him room or not. Which is why I say it's always the braking zone where it needs to be determined at. Now Lawson's trying to keep his tyres in contact with the track, and Alonso has ran him out of track room. Like I say, I don't know whether Lawson was entitled to track room. Couldn't see far enough back here. But then we've got this collision. Fernando certainly didn't leave him any space. Whether he had to, I don't know. But some drivers drive in a manner where they know they've got a car on the outside and they do afford that little bit of a margin. Fernando clearly tried to just shut him off. And ended up in the wall. A car trying to shut somebody off and ended up in the wall. Was Lawson trying to kill Alonso then? Let me know what you think in the comment section. I would like to see Fernando's onboards and see what he was doing with his hands. Well, these wheels are supposed to be tethered to the cars, aren't they? So that we don't see wheels coming off cars. But the tyres seem to be falling off the cars at the moment. So this is Alonso on boards. In fact, we can see on his outside is Lawson's car. Can we see any reference points? I'm going to play this with the sound on. Actually, go back and see if we can hear the braking. So let's do it this way.
Stewards get hold of that one because he was off the racing track.
Okay, try and pay attention to the engine note here. So that's the key. Let's have a listen to the engine note because we'll determine when they're braking, when they're slowing for the corner.
That's a front wing. That's mangles.
Okay, you can hear that that change of tone. He's starting to slow for the corner, and there's no sign of a car on his outside. Braking, down changing. He's ahead. He's significantly down changing. He's ahead. And he sent it in late up the outside.
There's lost on the outside.
Fernando's fully locked it over pretty much. But knowing that there's a car on his outside, no, Fernando, you've steered now right, haven't you? You're steering right.
Alonso's got the corner. So to me, Lawson's obliged to back out of that a little bit. Because he's off the track anyway. Side.
Right, what we're going to do, we're going to play the Sky Sports description of that. We'll do this. Go back to speed 1.
Because he was off the racing track.
Well, that's a front wing that's mangled, let alone damaged. So there's Lawson on the outside. Alonso's got the corner. So to me, Lawson's obliged to back out of that a little bit because he's off the track anyway, and Alonso's ahead of him.
Yeah.
Oh, poor Fernando Alonso on course for a points finish for the first time this season.
It would appear, from without seeing overlays, without seeing an aerial view, without acknowledging where the recognised braking zone would be, because I'm having to try and piece this together, but it would appear that at what would be the braking zone, Lawson was not fully alongside at that point, and only got fully alongside deep into that braking zone. So, because of that, at the point in time that Fernando would have assessed whether he's got to leave room or not, Lawson, he didn't have to leave room for him. He's gone round the corner. Lawson has hung it out around the outside. Really had no entitlement to do that, probably. And therefore, Fernando has then forced the issue and cut him off. Now, Fernando should have been aware that there was a car there, and he's still elected to cut him off. That is also it's enforcing it, isn't it? I mean, some drivers, they still manage to afford the other driver a bit of space. They compromise their line a bit, but no, Fernando did kind of force the issue. Ultimately, what did he was Lawson entitled to track room? Probably not. Could Fernando have done something different? Probably could. Is that more one of those incidents whereby they would determine it after the race, invite both drivers into the steward's office to give a representation and then decide whether they class it as one driver being significantly to blame? Is this the sort of thing where they get the GPS data off each of the cars and all the track footage and allow each team to make a representation, as we see what happens whenever Max Verstappen is involved in an incident. Would it be more one of those cases? No, the stewards were able to determine who was at fault on this one, weren't they?
It's not going to happen. Zach Brown's with us on the pit wall. What is it about Lando Norris and safety cars in Miami? They seem to be happy bedfellows there, Zach.
Yeah, that got exciting there. Yeah, both our cars are looking strong. I'd be surprised if we get restarted, but let's see.
Yeah, and you've got Verstappen in fourth, but with it carrying now a 10-second penalty as well. Your major rival in the championship at the moment, Zach. So it's played out very nicely for you out front.
So far, so good, but as we can see, anything can happen. 2 laps to go, so let's see if they get this thing restarted or not.
Yeah.
Anything can happen. 2 laps to go. Will they get this restarted or not? It's only live once.
Well, I'm kind of with you. With recovery vehicles on the track and only 2 laps to go, I can't see us restarting.
No, I think it's unlikely, but hey, I would have said the same thing in Abu Dhabi a few years.
Yeah, I mean, at Abu Dhabi in 2021, what were you saying there? In fact, we'll hear what the McLaren guy says about it. I can't think of his bloody name. Zach, innit? Zach Brown. Did he say something about Abu Dhabi? I didn't pick up on that the first time. Yeah, you'd think when the marshals are jumping over the barriers as they're coming by turn 14 on lap 56, as they've gone now, yeah, with 2 laps to go, and the marshals are still only just jumping over the barriers now, and with them still having to carry out the safety car procedure, which takes more than 1 lap. Yeah, this is going to be a safety car finish. You'd have thought they'd been able to say that at Abu Dhabi 2021. What does that Brown say? Did he say
vehicles on the track and only 2 laps to go? I can't see us restarting.
No, I think it's unlikely, but hey, I would have said the same thing in Abu Dhabi a few years ago.
I think it's unlikely, yeah, but I'd have said the same thing in Abu Dhabi a few years ago. Absolutely right.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Fair point. Yeah, you keep laughing it off, laughing boy. Fraudulent fuck. Criminal bastard. Mind conditioning fuck. You keep laughing that off, Crofty, because you're going to go down for that.
Thanks ever so much, Zach. We'll be back with you for qualifying and for the race tomorrow as well. You've got a feel for Kimi Antonelli here. Max gets a 10-second penalty. That's no crumb of comfort to this man's race.
No, and thank goodness he saw it. He saw it unfolding. He couldn't have had much of a view of that because of the Red Bull mechanics. And he saw it, reacted instinctively. Otherwise, he'd have been turned around into his pit crew.
And we're not blaming Max Verstappen for this, by the way.
Great job in the pits, guys. Mega job.
Yeah, it was mega, yeah.
Hamilton was one of the early stoppers, and it has really, really invigorated his race. Yeah. We're not blaming Max Verstappen. When the green light goes, as a racing driver, Martin, you go. Shouldn't have been released.
You can't. You're surrounded by your own team. There's no way you can look in your mirrors and go, I think it's okay, or I'll just check. They say I can go. You are 100% reliant upon your team to let you know when to drop the clutch. You can't put any other factor into that.
Ted, down to you.
So of course they have in this pit stop traffic light system, they have an override for exactly this.
You see, here, they're quite happy for us to see the overheads of them clearing up the track. It appears as the cars were going by turn 14 at Abu Dhabi, whether they intended for people to realise that there were marshals departing the track at that point at the end of lap 56, meaning that actually by the time that end of that safety car snake passed that incident, Hamilton would have been on lap 57. So lap 57 was the earliest that the order could be given to those lapped cars for them to pass the leader and the safety car. And after that order, the safety car returns to the pits at the end of the following lap. And the end of the following lap is the end of lap 58, the end of the race, which means it's a safety car finish, which means the safety car peels off to the pits. The leader goes and takes the checkered flag, and there is no overtaking. That's what a safety car finish is. That's Abu Dhabi 2021. But we didn't get that, did we? But we got We got the media lying about what was possible before it happened, and then what happened got described as just being an error by one guy. But the media were predicting that error was going to happen before that error happened. That's strange. All the teams predicted that error was going to happen before that error was going to happen. That happened. That's strange. The construct of what was fed to us was going to indicate, oh, Red Bull are being hard done by this. Oh, when Alonso wanted to know that we've got to get this job done before it's too late. Oh, dear me. I forget all the different things, but I've made lots of videos about it. I'll remember them for when we take these bastards to court. Anyway, we'll carry on.
Instance, if there's someone else coming down, the chief mechanic or what used to be the lollipop man can override the green light, keep it red, which of course is what they should have done. It seemed to me he had a clear line of sight. You could see behind him the Red Bull guy, that the Mercedes guys were out. We could all see Mercedes were bringing one of their guys in, and it seemed like he had a clean line of sight. The only thing I can think is, was there a malfunction with this earlier in the season, Crofty, and wasn't it blamed, or weren't they looking at these pit stop traffic lights, and it was the one, there you go, is that Rich Wolverson, I think, closest to us, who's the man who's taken over from Jonathan Wheat.
I mean, what's happened with Red Bull? I mean, they were the best at the pit stops, they were the best on the strategy, and now it's only the fourth best car on the grid. It's not the fastest car on the grid, it's the worst car on the grid. The only reason it's not last is because it's Supermax that's driving it. What's the matter? Is Christian Horner taking his eye off the ball? Has he lost focus? Is Christian Horner more focused on other things within the team? Is that what it is, Christian? Let me know what you think in the comment section, Christian.
It is Rich Wolverson, yeah. So he'll be wanting to know exactly what happened there.
Well, quite.
It's only hurt themselves.
Yeah, but it's hurt them and it's hurt someone else, and it could have really hurt some of the crews.
So Verstappen has got a 10-second penalty for unsafe release.
And what about Piastri?
No, nothing for him. Usual turn one.
Good to know.
Well, it's the driving standard.
Usual turn one. Look at the way we incite the people and miseducate people, because we can educate people with why there was no penalty for Piastri there, but instead we just keep it muddy, we keep it murky. Oh yeah, lap one, turn one, nobody gets penalised for that. Oh, that happened. No, you still apply the criteria. But as it was, you went off track, Kimmy. You didn't maintain a line around that corner, whereby you raced him wheel to wheel, and you went off the track well before he drifted over to that far side of the track. And by the time he got over there, you were nowhere to be seen anyway. You were already off.
Those guidelines have changed slightly for this year, so that if you, as you mentioned, Martin, you're alongside you've got to the mirror of the guy on your outside.
Yeah. Those guidelines have changed for this year, and if you've got to at that and the apex and the mirror and we none of us can explain it clearly, because we have to modify that to validate when Max is doing it, so that we justify when Max is doing it, and when the stewards apply penalties for other people who do exactly the same way, we have to explain it in a different way to convince you that that's a penalty, but it's not a penalty for Max, because that's what the guidelines say. So we have to interpret the guidelines a certain way for Max rules. See, but mine don't do that, do they? Mine, they just universally apply to everybody, and they make sense, don't they? Strange that the experts can't talk about the guidelines. The guidelines.
Slightly for this year, so that if you, as you mentioned, Martin, you're alongside you've got to the mirror of the guy on your outside, then you have the right for that corner, as long as you are going to make that corner, and Oscar Piastri was.
It's a change for 2025. Presumably we're going to go across to the finish here, aren't we?
Yeah.
It's a change. No, we're on 17. So, it's a change for 2025 that before you had to give the driver on the outside racing room, which pretty much guaranteed you on the inside. You were too tight. You couldn't. So now it's, if you get up the inside and you're ahead of their mirror at the apex, it's up to the driver on the outside to yield. You're no longer obliged to give him racing room. In Jeddah, I think it was...
Well, hang on. Hang on. You're no longer obliged to give him racing room. So was Fernando Alonso obliged to give Lawson racing room? Who got the penalty? Your explanation doesn't make sense, Martin. The one that makes sense is the one that's existed for years before they now had to change it for Max Verstappen rules, and now you have to change it every season to try and modify it because they don't make sense, do they? The guidelines don't make sense. And we've made a change and they still don't make sense. And then made a change and they still don't make sense. And the reason they don't make sense is what did make sense that had been cultivated over many years of people gaining experience as to what parameters do we need to define this as being acceptable and not. What is it that all the other drivers abide by in terms of their racing conduct and their acknowledged rules of engagement? Well, how come it's the Red Bull drivers that like doing it differently?
Unquestioned that Piastri had that advantage. Here, I think it was a bit touch and go.
Rosé, one of 17 artists on the F1 the Movie soundtrack album, which has been released this week, gets ready to wave the checkered flag, waving it for Lando Norris. If Lando Norris, it's only a point he gains on Oscar Piastri. If he wanted anything from this sprint race, it was to get back and have something go his way and something to make him smile and cheer him on his way for the next part of the weekend.
Yeah, and the bad news for Red Bull and Max is that with the pack all so tight like this, it'll cost him, he'll be out of the points with a 10-second penalty with the pack all nose to tail.
Final sprint races, final two sprint races in 2024 were a 1-2 for McLaren. We're going to get a 1-2 for McLaren here. Lewis Hamilton will pick up his second best finish for Ferrari. His two best finishes for Ferrari coming in the sprint races. For Lando Norris, the disco glitter ball helmet has been debuted for this week. And this race spun around in two dramatic laps with Carlos Sainz hitting the wall, Fernando Alonso hitting the wall, a safety car coming out after his teammate Oscar Piastri had pitted. Out came the safety car just in the nick of time for the speed on the track to slow down and Lando to rejoin in the lead.
Well, who says they don't like sprint races? I love a sprint weekend. There's always something going on. And that was a cracker, wasn't it? I mean, wow. How can you fit that much action into what...
And that was a cracker, wasn't it? Wow. I thought it'd be an anticlimax, Martin. I thought the kiddies wouldn't be excited with the safety car finish. But that was a cracker. Wow. You couldn't make it up, could you?
Turned out to be an 18-lapper.
The Hard Rock Stadium. It's a hard luck story for the likes of Piastri and the likes of Antonelli. It's a good news story for Lando Norris. Safety car peels away and Lando Norris will lead the drivers over the line.
I mean, what is it, Martin? Nobody likes a safety car finish when a black man's going to win. Is that how it works? So we have to contrive it differently. But we're happy with a safety car finish when Lando Norris is in the lead or when Max Verstappen was in the lead. There's no problem with a safety car finish at Monza 2022. No problem with a safety car finish now. Yeah, and this one's, wow, that was a cracker, wasn't it?
As they come into view to win the Miami Sprint in 2025, it's Norris, it's Piastri, it's Hamilton, the top three. Alex Albon with a brilliant fourth place for Williams. George Russell finishes where he started in fifth. Lance Stroll picks up his third points finish of the season in sixth. Liam Lawson is back in the points in seventh, and Ollie Behrman was there to pick up a point in eighth place ahead of Yuki Tsunoda and Kimi Antonelli, the man on pole, who finished 10th.
Lawson will have to fight hard to keep that, I think, in with the stewards. But points for him at the moment, and as you can see, Verstappen, with that 10-second really hurt him there.
Cool. P1, well done.
Yeah, lovely job. Well done, boys.
And it was a no-brainer for Lewis to go early as well. His tyres were absolutely shot through. It wasn't even a gamble for them, and it's worked out. Lewis is so good in these conditions. So, a McLaren 1-2, a big haul of points again for the McLaren team in the Constructors' Championship. As you say, Norris gains a point on Piastri, and they've got 8 wheels on their McLaren wagons too.
Which is helpful. Will Fernando Alonso.
Right, that'll do on this one. Thank you for your time. The Grand Prix tomorrow. We've had qualifying, and Hamilton hasn't done very well. Now, what I'd say about that is Hamilton has to take some responsibility for his performance. Has to take a lot of responsibility for it. He has to acknowledge that the car that he's given, that is being produced by Ferrari, it's not something that he's taken to driving particularly well. That could be the limitations of the car. It could be the limitations of Hamilton driving it. But you've got to think about your approach to this. If you know that you're on a knife edge relatively, performance-wise, in terms of your chance of putting in a fast time that's going to get you within the top 10, to be in the top 10 for that last top 10 shootout, don't leave it to chance. Don't just give yourself 1 or 2 opportunities. At least take the approach of giving yourself more than that one go at it. So what we saw today is in qualifying, Hamilton put a time in, but he crossed the start-finish line with about 40 seconds to go, which meant had the car been fueled enough, had he realised on that flying lap that, oh, I've made an error here, I've locked up at this turn, I've cost myself some time, you can back out of that lap and put another one in. Okay, do the recharging of the battery sufficiently, get the preparation done, and then go, right, when I'm bailing out of this lap halfway round, but I'm going to go again. Give yourself the time to do that. Give yourself the opportunity to do that. Don't put all your eggs in one basket and it's like death or glory on one lap. Okay, go out there, attempt to do a fast lap, but if you make a mistake on that, have it in reserve that you've got the margin and you've got the fuel in the car and you've got the time left available, that once you cross the line at the end of that fast lap, if it's not gone well, you can go again. Okay, you continue on, and that new lap that you're then on becomes your attempt to set a lap for qualifying. Because that's what you've got to do. You've got to take that approach. Give yourself the best opportunity. And they don't seem to do that. I don't understand why. Because we do see cars set fastest lap after fastest lap when they're in race conditions. So why can't they do that in qualifying? We can't just say that them tyres can just do one lap and that's it. That's not what we see in races. We see fastest laps being set consecutively, not just the first lap that they produce after the pit stop. We see the fastest laps get faster as the fuel load decreases. But with that difference of an extra few litres for an extra lap as your reserve lap, that's not really going to significantly impact your first attempt by that much, is it? Anyway, we'll see what happens in the race tomorrow. Thank you all for your time.